What's up, guys? Ted from Immersion here, and it's Friday, so it's time for another D&D weekly update. Again, more news from Rage of Demons, some stuff from PAX has come out, a couple other really interesting articles, so stay tuned. Alright, so let's jump into it. Up first is just a really quick article here. Interesting article, though, about running games and being a dungeon master in a public setting. So for most of us, when we play either online or in person, it's usually with our friends and we've kind of known each other for a little while. You might bring somebody new into the group, for one game or, for the whole, but usually you have a core group of people you typically play with. This covers the more interesting side of things of maybe you're running a game at a convention, or maybe you decide you want to take part in the Adventure League and you want to run it. You're going to be the guy who's going to run games for people you've never met. So I never really thought about this. I've played in the Adventure League and stuff before, and I don't know, it just didn't really click till right now. Like, it's got to be a pretty daunting task. You're sitting down at the head of a table. It's on you to come up with the story, you to have the minis, the mat, whatever kind of stuff you're going to need. And, like, you're playing with 5 people that either have played before, potentially have never played at all, and each person's going to have their own expectation about what what you're going to provide. So this goes through just some key points. I'm not really going to read through the entire article, but, be on time, be ready, over-prepare, because, in your home game, you know what your friends are like. You know how that's going to go. And, he talks about using different themes and try to keep it short, try to, rather than do a long adventure that's going to get split over multiple sessions. If this is only going to be a 1-day thing at a convention, but it's going to be all day, you'll have enough material, but you kind of want the players to have that sense of fulfillment at the end of it. So if it's going to be like a 2-hour or 3-hour Adventure League session, try to compartmentalize things. This is where I want to end. And then that way they feel like they actually, they got to from point A to point B and did, whatever you wanted them to do. Also, I would just say this could also work for if you're doing like a look for group thing on Roll20 or some other virtual tabletop and you're looking for players. This is kind of the same thing. Moving on, there is another D&D podcast. They have R.A. Salvatore on there as well, talking about the new Drist novels, the Homecoming series. So book 2 is in the process of coming out, so be sure to go check that out. And I think Green Ronin. They have somebody, Steve Kenson and Chris Pramis from Green Ronin are actually there to discuss Out of the Abyss. And speaking of Out of the Abyss, it's supposed to come out in, I think, 11 days from now. But if you have a Wizards Play Network shop near you, I would call and check, because typically you can get your games, any of your Wizards books 11 days prior. So that would be today. I was actually going to go to my shop, but I have to catch a flight, so I missed it. But I'll have it on Monday, so come next week, I might even do a flip through of it early next week, so be on the lookout for that. So check out the D&D podcast. Orcus is the demon lord of this week, so they have another D&D alumni article. Again, I'm not going to read through this entire thing, but talk about where Orcus came from. You get to see some of the classic Orcus art, and then, through AD&D, and then into third edition, 4th edition, and then now we have Orcus in 5th edition, which I guess I'll just jump over here to talk to this. So here is the field guide to Orcus. The brooding and nihilistic Orcus finds amusement in the suffering and death of living creatures, but gains his greatest pleasure in transforming those creatures into the undead to serve him. This type of madness, the madness of Orcus, drives its subjects to a state of unnatural nihilism, making them covet eternal life and convincing them that undeath is the only way to accomplish it. If you saw the Rage of Demons trailer that we talked about last week, the big guy with the glowing kind of skull staff, that's Orcus. So, again, just like I said, you got to be mindful of the D&D Tumblr. They put a lot of stuff here that you just can't find otherwise. Another good way to do that is the Dragon Plus app. I showed you guys 2 or 3 weeks ago the Rage of Demons article came out, and I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can't see that. But either way, at the bottom, they have the article or the actual magazines themselves at the top. But this is actually one of the best ways to keep current on news, because they post all of the latest news at the bottom. And this does grab from all of their social media. So any articles, anything they've posted, the information is all right here at your fingertips. So, you know, it's not too big of an app. It's a little clunky, if I'm being honest. Again, I'll do a full-blown review of this in the future, but I keep getting notifications on Dragon Plus saying the newest article of Dragon Plus is out, and it's not. It's not out. So, I've been looking. It's not here. It's the next month. It is September, so we should be getting an Unearthed Arcana article relatively soon, and we should also be getting the next issue of Dragon Plus, but it is what it is. They preview from the actual book Out of the Abyss. Right here we have the Wormwrithings. The tunnels created by purple worms are tubular and roughly 10 feet in diameter. A typical stretch of tunnel is 1d6 miles long before it intersects with another tunnel or a naturally formed cavern. So here you can see some players in the Underdark going through a purple worm created tunnel, and here is the random encounter table that you can roll on if you're, when your players are in the Underdark. There were actually 2 really good articles that came out. So this is on IO9. Yeah, IO9. So how comes to the Underdark? So they actually talk about this, and it's an interesting article. There's a couple key points I want to point out. They say, demons have been a really big focus of Wizards of the Coast lately, but this time they go, rather than one demon, they're putting them all in, which is kind of cool. And you're going to deal with Drizzt, so that's work as he goes back to the Underdark. And there's a lot of really cool art in this article that's worth checking out. Something I didn't know, I've mentioned that Green Ronin is taking care of, they're the third-party publishing Out of the Abyss. Apparently, they are the company that makes the Song of Ice and Fire RPG, and according to the author of this article, possibly their favorite RPG of all time. So, I love Game of Thrones, the Song of Ice and Fire, so if it has any kind of reminiscence to the show or the book, or, at least it seems reflective of the RPG, I think I'm really going to like this. And I actually have never had any interest in doing an Underdark-based campaign in my life, but this one has me pretty interested. And there's another lineup ahead that's pretty funny. So the designers have shaken up the champagne bottle a bit in other interviews. I've seen it described as turning the Underdark into an Alice in Wonderland sort of place. That seems to be a very apt description. Despite focus on Demon Lords, Out of the Abyss is infused with whimsy. There are outlandish characters, fantastic landmarks, and a creeping madness, but the overall feel is more Labyrinth than Lovecraft, which I'm on board for that 100%. And then here comes my favorite line. Not that it's a silly adventure. You start off enslaved by drow, so that's the sort of your start of your campaign. But there are dwarves who crave pancakes. You had me at pancakes. I'm in. And I'll just flip through this again. There's some really cool art in this thing. Looks like you're going to have, obviously... Wait, liches and mind flayers together? I don't know. But check out this art. The concept art is just beautiful. I like to focus on the Mind Flayer, which have always seemed like one of D&D's truly original monsters. There's not much precedent for them in classic fantasy fiction, although they're certainly a bit Lovecraftian. Where do you see Illithid in the D&D monster hierarchy? What influences do you think inspired their earlier iterations? And you have Chris Perkins here from Green Ronin, I believe, commenting. Monster didn't become a true icon of the game until the release of the Illithid, which shed lots of light on the mysterious race. They're evil masterminds who feed on humanoid brains, and that's pretty terrifying. They like to enslave other creatures. They embody a lot of things that terrify the human imagination, and I think that's why they become as iconic to D&D as Beholders and Drow. And again, there's a whole interview here. Lots of cool art. Again, staffs, some cool... I'm sure all of this made it into the book in one way or another. And there's another article on Polygon here as well, more about Out of the Abyss. So they talk a little bit about the theory behind Dungeons & Dragons, Wizards of the Coast's new way of going about things, the limited splat books. So we've gone from being product-focused to being story-focused, which means we think of a story that we want to tell, capture the essence of D&D, and also we think is going to energize our players and DMs. Then we develop a story Bible for the story and propagate it through a number of different expressions. It's now a multi-generational game. And then there's a little bit, again, interviews with R.A. Salvatore, and this whole Alice in Wonderland theme. You'll see it comes up a lot in a lot of articles regarding Out of the Abyss. So I'm pretty hopeful for that. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, there were 2 videos released. This one's actually pretty interesting. This is only a 3-minute video, but it's asking the various developers of Dungeons and Dragons kind of their thought process behind what was going on with Out of the Abyss and bringing in all the different demons, as you can see here on screen. What they looked like back in the day, and then you'll see a kind of cool transition to what they look like now. And you can see, just look at just the change is amazing. And they talk about, what we could change and what we couldn't change. You have certain aspects of certain demon lords are iconic to that character. Like Demogorgon has the 2 heads. You got to keep that. But what else can we do to kind of tweak that to make it more new and fresh for 5th edition? So it's just interesting to see how passionate these guys are about what goes into the game. So it's worth checking out. There's a few other videos in this kind of series talking about the Underdark as an overall thing. So I would check that out. And then if you want to laugh and you've got 3 hours to kill, I recommend checking out the Inquisition or Acquisitions Incorporated video from PAX. It just got uploaded to the Dungeons and Dragons official YouTube, so you can go check that out. And I mean, it's solid. You obviously have the cool animated stuff beforehand, and we saw sort of the preview of what happened in the past in another video. But I mean, if you haven't watched one of these guys are nuts, and it's hilarious. I mean, look at this. This happened live at PAX. You could have been there watching this in person. I would have loved that. But unfortunately, I didn't get to go to PAX. But anyway, I mean, how can you say no to this? So go check this out. You'll have a couple laughs. It's a good time. And I think that's it, guys. It's a pretty short week for news. Not a whole lot, but the game launch is right around the corner. And again, go check your Wizards Play networks. You can probably get the game right now. And let me know what you think. Yeah, I'm probably going to do a live flip through. I don't like reviewing books ahead of time. I prefer to have actually sat down and read through the entire book to actually get an idea of what you're looking at. And speaking of that, you can check right over here-ish. Sean and I just did an entire in-depth breakdown, chapter by chapter, of Hoard of the Dragon Queen. There's a lot of flack for this game because it is very lethal, and as a new DM running this game, you could easily totally kill your entire party of players numerous occasions, especially in the first episode. So we kind of reviewed every chapter, but we also kind of treated it more like a Dungeon Master guide for this book. So we go through, we're going to tell you what's supposed to happen, what tools do they give you to facilitate that, what happened when we played through it ourselves, and ways we would go in and adjust that to make it better. And we'd love to hear your guys' feedback on what you think. Be forewarned, we do pronounce Tiamat, and I blame my first Dungeon Master for pronouncing it that way. So if that bugs you, I'm sorry, but that'll continue through all those videos. But anyway, guys, thank you for checking it out. You guys have actually been very responsive and supportive of these videos, so I really appreciate it. So let me know what you guys think of this news. Bonus points, because once Out of the Abyss comes out, the next book on the docket is the Sword Coast Adventure Guide. And I know a lot of people, myself included, are super pumped for that. We're going to have new classes, or archetypes at the very least, new races. It's going to be amazing. And once these updates stop coming out, the previews are going to have to be of that new book. And again, bonus, October 2nd and 3rd, or 3rd and 4th, is Dungeons and Dragons Extra Life Day. And last time we got a ton of previews of the Dungeon Master Guide ahead of time because we met the goals that they were trying to hit for raising money for Extra Life. So if we do that now, we could probably get even more previews of the Sword Coast Adventure Guide before it comes out. November for regular stores, October 23rd, I think, for Wizards Play Network stores. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think. If you like this stuff, why don't maybe share, like, subscribe, just so that way you guys can see when these videos come out. It's typically Friday, sometimes Saturday. But also, I guess I'll just kind of give a precursor real quick before we go. Hoping in about 2 to 3 weeks' time, we will be doing live playthrough on Roll20, streaming and uploaded to YouTube of the Princes of the Apocalypse Elemental Evil campaign. So be on the lookout for that. Anyway, guys, thank you, and have a great weekend. And enjoy your Labor Day / I think there's a Canadian equivalent. I don't know what it is, and I'm sorry. But anyway, enjoy your holiday, guys.